The city. A busy life where traffic is never ending, where people hurry about their day, having fun, doing things with the ones they love. But as life goes on and people shuffle by, their days involve surviving the next. They never planned on spending their days begging for change, sleeping in a park, or wondering where their next meal is coming from. This is a story about the homeless.
I went with my church to Indianapolis to meet up an organization called Tear Down the Walls that is associated with another church that we know in Indianapolis. Street outreaches is what we did, and we bring them blankets and food and supplies that they might need out there, just stuff that we could bring to make their lives a little bit easier that they might not have had while they're on the streets. It was so cold outside when we went that, people live in these tents out there and on the streets, and it was so cold out, most people didn't either want to come out of their tents, or we think that some people went to shelters for the night because how cold it was. People just didn't want to be on camera too, but I mean, there was a small amount of people that we really got to see at all, just because how cold it was. I got an interview with one gentleman, but for the most part, most people were just, if they did come out, they were in and out, just got like blanket and food and went back in their tent because it was just so cold out when we went.
My street name is Free World.
Okay.
My real name is Francis Murray. I've been off and on since 2007. People down here do not realize the hardship that the people have. But the problem is people don't care about the homeless people. The problem is people should start caring about the homeless people. If it wasn't for you groups and the churches that come down here, they really don't care about the people. I mean, this is a great place. We don't have everything here, but we're a community here. What gets me is people don't want to take responsibility.
I grew up knowing that I had an uncle that I never even met. He moved to California before I was born to be with his girlfriend, and that didn't work out. And before he knew it, he was homeless, and he didn't want to come back home. I've seen the impact that him being homeless has had on my family, especially my mom and my grandma. It's quite hard, and I mean, my mom won't even get rid of our landline in our house because that's one of the only phone numbers that he can still remember and that he still calls.
I don't have no family. I'm the sole survivor of my family. But these people down here, they got family, but the family don't want nothing to do with them. That's not something that I can deal with it. I try and help them, give them food, but you all bring me, I can't eat it, so I transfer it back to the other people. Why they ask me why I do it? Because I got one thing. You see where my finger's pointing up here? There's this man upstairs. If you don't believe in him, you got to have some kind of hope. Hope that someday that you will get off of here.
There were times in my life that my uncle didn't call for years, and we all just kind of assumed that maybe we had to face the truth that he was gone, and we were never going to get a phone call because nobody knew who he was. But then out of the blue he would call, and it would be like the middle of the night. I remember one time he called and my dad answered the phone. He's like, "This is the Raven." He called himself the Raven when he would call Sometimes now, I think he still does, but I haven't heard anybody say it in a few years when he's actually called. He called himself the Raven because he told my dad a story about that he was starving and he hadn't eaten in a while, and he didn't know where his next meal was coming from, and he prayed to God and he told him, please God, he's like, I'm so hungry, could you please bring me some food? And a raven flew by and dropped him a turkey leg, and then a seagull flew by and dropped him a piece of bread, and so that's why he started calling himself Raven Seagull.
Why don't people care? You got a house, but you're only a paycheck away from being homeless. That's what I can't understand about people. Why can't you understand that? You could lose your job today, you could lose your mortgage tomorrow, and then where are you going to be? You're going to be down under a bridge sleeping next to somebody else.
When I was 14, we went to California on a family vacation, and I remember it seemed like a really awesome idea when we were going, and undoubtedly we had fun when we were there. But when we went tourist seeing down, like Hollywood Boulevard, there was just, not even just at Hollywood Boulevard. There were so many tourist attractions in LA that just had so many homeless people just everywhere. And I just remember it really put a huge damper on our vacation, because it was just like everywhere you turned, you kind of hoped that it was him. And to this day it still bothers me, because I think it just kind of watching the devastation, especially for my parents. And even for me it was devastating, because I knew it was hurting them, that my mom was hoping that he was there and he wasn't. And I remember my dad wanted to go to Venice Beach, and my mom was like, no, we are not going to Venice Beach, because we know for a fact that he used to live there. And to see him there, I think, would have been even more devastating for her, because I think she would have wanted to bring him home, and I think she knows that he wouldn't have come, and that would have been really, really hard. And it's just, even now when we see things on TV that are in California or Venice Beach or wherever, we always look for him on TV, and he's never there, but we always look.
This is our topside village. This is our topside village. So you can film that. Don't go in there. Where I live. This is my condo. This is where I live. I live in luxury. I got an air mattress, and when it gets too cold, I got a heater in here. This is where I live. I got a cooking stove, and this is my bed. These are all my personal belongings right now. Not beside what I got in storage. And people laugh at me. Are you cold? And I said, no, I am not cold.
You got a lot of stuff.
I do this. I bring this. And I got a propane heater.
This year is the first time that I've heard from my uncle on multiple occasions. It's the most that he's ever called that I can ever remember. He called probably like 4 times this summer, and I got to speak with him I think twice, and he, asks me like if I know who he is, and if my family tells me about him, because he knows that he's never met me, and but he still wants to talk to me, which is the funny part. And we talk and we carry on conversations, and I tell him that I do know who he is, and my parents speak of him all the time. And over the years, I've thought about him a lot, and what he doesn't know is that I think about him every single time that I see a homeless person. And but I made sure that he knows that I know who he is, and that I care about him, and he does cross my mind. And he's in a really good place for one of the first times in a long time. He sounded really, really good, and he found work painting addresses on the street to make some money. And he's just doing really well from what he told us, and I'm really glad that he's, at least for right now, he's in a really good place.
When I see someone homeless, they are more to me than a bum on the street, because they are all my Uncle Dave. If he needed something, I would hope someone would help him. Always remember that man or woman belongs to someone out there. Their story may not be like yours, but they didn't plan on this life. So the next time you're caught up in the busy world, shopping, or just passing by, and you see someone homeless, just think of the stories you have heard. That's someone's Uncle Dave.